Up at the front has a puncture in the Volkenhorst Motorsport BMW, another car that is suffering the fate. He retires the BMW into the pit lane. Meanwhile, there is a massive fight behind Nathan Schaap for position. 4 cars running absolutely nose to tail. Further back.
Dann das Duell Knopp gegen Gogolok, der in der Schikane die Orientierung verliert. Der pinke Mücke Motorsport AMG rückt einen Platz vor. Nach den Fahrerwechseln pilotiert Marcel Lennertz den führenden AMG von Bulatov. Doch die Standzeit
less experienced teammate Marat Kyrov, who was the new trophy champion. There was also a lot of contact further back. The number 9 car once again in the wars in the hands of Joachim Bolting. You can see Dominic Schack also going deep in the Mercedes into the runoff. Champions going wheel to wheel for that second place. Piana was soon past Sasa, and next up it was Rackle round the outside just as Rackle peeled into the pit lane for his mandatory stop and a driver change. Piana soon had to come in as well, handing to Berke Besler, but Besler came out of the pits with a good clear lead.
What happened across more than an hour really with the stoppage, and we had the contact that put into the gravel Ibrahim Okiai. And not long after, we had a red flag because of a signage drama.
Series, and it was a lively start with a demon getaway by Julien Brichet carving his way through the traffic and hitting the front as this enormous field of cars, 55 in total, streamed uphill. Some round wide coming out of the Cours Paul Frère. That made a few people sit up and take notice. Luki Banieth was involved in a battle with John Lancaster, who got squeezed and crowded over the curb.
Heute geht's ideal los. Hinter ihm allerdings viel Bewegung im Feld und da kommt's zur Kollision. Marek Böckmann hat's erwischt. Für ihn geht's nicht mehr weiter und das Aus an dieser Stelle bedeutet gelbe Flagge.
Hunt, but it was hard work from way back in the pack, fighting his way through the traffic. But now the punctures were starting to appear. Car 34 with problems. Nico Hanke has to retire the car he shares with Mex Janssen, one of 4 cars suffering this fate. Hendrick still has made impressive progress though, running in P4. Tyres to the pits. Leon Vasserthur in the number 5, another car with a puncture. The punctures are happening as they did yesterday. BMW just staying out of the gravel trap, but his race is over as well. This is the fight for second place on the final lap. Mo Ritson had been in second, but Nico had
a delayed BMW meant that Paolo Maloney ended up in 15th place. Then we had dramas between the Porsches, Nikolai Moller-Madsen and Jelka Mathias coming to grief, and both were delayed, but both did rejoin the race, all of which enabled us to witness another spectacular Moller-Madsen.
Chase thought they were chasing off the minor podium positions, but then suddenly, when 27, Valentin Haas-Close was at the wheel, ran out of steam, still haven't found out what went wrong with it. It suddenly gave an opportunity for those in behind, and it really was tough in behind. Jura Panga being pushed here and there, and then this is just what the...
Looks set to steal the headlines, challenging the 2020 champion on the outside into turn 1 of the race, and very nearly making it stick. The experience of Moller-Madsen was able to claw it back for the time being, but the Team Avia WNS Motorsport team were far from finished with their challenge for the top step of the podium. David Yarn had made a great start from East Side Mercedes. Janis Fitcher started third, and it was a crowded field of cars who headed into the tight turn 1. Fitcher almost made it into second, but Bulatov was able to defend around the outside and hold on to the position. Not everyone made it around turn 1 though. Raphael Renhofer in the Pro Sport Aston Martin getting turned around and
hard Alessio Picariello to try and get one over Will Moore, but he was another crew that ended up with a drive-through penalty, and that dropped them to 7th place overall. But no one had an answer to the 34 crew. They were so strong throughout the race, and there is a checkered flag pulled out at the last moment.
On tenterhooks into the last lap of the race, it was a dive bomb from Enzo Juli, making contact with Mikael Schrey. Schrey was able to spin it around and rejoin, but the stewards had something to say about that. There was going to be a penalty incoming from Enzo Juli. Max Rosam almost made it past Mikael Schrey, but ran wide and dropped back.
Und auch den ersten härteren Kontakt gab es. Silja Maton gegen Patrick Steinmetz. Erst ein wenig leichter und dann nochmal richtig heftig gegen den CV Performance Mercedes. Und da geht Steinmetz dann komplett die Straße aus.
BMW-Pilot Gabriele Piana ist beim zweiten Lauf der ADAC GT4 Germany in Oschersleben von Beginn an hellwach und führt das Feld souverän an. David Jahn und Max Jansen folgen. Dann das Duell Maxim Osten gegen Hendrik Still. Osten setzt sich im richtigen Moment daneben und geht vor den Porsche.
Almeida from Mozambique spins in the second Muka Motorsport Mercedes. He keeps it going and rejoins the race.
Schnappt sich doch noch P3. Simon Connor Prim und Jan-Philipp Springhoff sichern sich den Sieg im ersten Lauf der ADAC GT4 Germany in Oschersleben. Enzo Jolie und Sami Matitrogen auf 2, Max Jansen und Nico Hanke.
Still taking his first ever pole position and leading the field around into turn 1. Somebody who didn't make it around turn 1 though was Daniel Drexel. The car spinning and bringing out a safety car at the restart. First and second in the championship were challenging each other for second place.
Du meilleur départ et qui emmène directement dans sa roue la BMW de Frédéric Joet et la Ginetta d'un Robert Consani qui évolue à domicile et qui est l'actuel leader du championnat, auteur d'un très bon départ. Donc derrière on a Max Kubolt sur la BMW numéro 888 qui prend d'emblée la 4e position. La lutte en début de course oppose la...
Meanwhile, Mikael Schrey had taken over from Gabriel Piana. Enzo Juli had taken over from Mark Di Fulgentio in second place, but still the battle for third raged on. Finn Zulauf in the Avia WNS Motorsport Porsche was working hard to try and find a route past Alex Connor. They ran side by side into turn 11 with Zulauf sweeping around at the Hockenheim ring. So back under green flag conditions was Max Kronberg, who led from Marat Kairov and Hugo Sassa. Kairov, who had taken over the number 2 car. Hugo Sassa had relieved Mike David Ortman of driving duties. A great battle for them. Also, car 31 was Hugo Sassa, also trying to follow through. So, Max Wimmer, having led the way, suddenly looking at third place. But Hugo Sassa's not done yet. He looks to the inside of Springhob. Around the final turn they come with still 13.5 minutes remaining of this race. It is Jan-Philipp Springhob who led the race. Hugo Sassa following it had completed. You can see there from the graphic that Hugo Sassa and Mike David Ortman were going to be champions if things remained as they are, but it was so important for Hugo Sassa to stay out of trouble and also for Mike David Ortman. He'd taken over the wheel of the number 1 car. The fighting that was going on all around him. Simon Connor
110. Nico Rindlisbacher's car had been second briefly in the hands of Paul Rees, but the McLaren fell away, losing places as the number 2 Mercedes had to pit to serve a penalty for being short, for track limit abuse, as number 112 got collected by an errant Porsche, and then this incident that effectively
auf P6 zurückgereicht. Dann auf einmal Probleme beim Führenden. Tim Reiter von Hofer Racing bei Bonk Motorsport räubert hier über die Curbs. Diagnose: Aufhängung gebrochen. Finn Zulauf im Porsche übernimmt die Führung.
Marching his way through the field and into second place. Mikael Schrey had taken over from Gabriel Piana, but contact with Tommy Rackle saw the BMW go spinning. He was able to rejoin, but it was a long way back. Ferdinand Winter had taken... The attack comes at Tarzan, but Prim is unable to find a route past Sassa. To get away with it. Eventually, Leon Vassather did find a route through on turn 4, but it was unable to slow it down, and Max Rosam was able to retake that position. Time was running out. The fight for second place was raging on, and Leon Vassather at the front, the car sliding out of turn 4 and making a connection with the concrete wall. Somehow, the Porsche survived, and Simon Birch was able to continue, but it gave Joseph Knopp a bit of breathing room at the front. In the background, Hendrik Still had handed over to Max Kronberg.
To the side of the track, and then some great racing down the order with Jan Reinig coming through to take the Pro-Am class lead for Schwede Motorsport. Still leading the race, but then suddenly slowing through turn 1, already with a front left puncture out of the race. Didn't manage to come back to the pits in the hands of Stefan Lemray, but sweeping into the lead went Max Cobold, and there he was to take the finish, the checkered flag. Ibanez couldn't get it quite away as he wanted from pole position. From the outside the front row, Valentin Haskell took the lead. Then there was contact in the middle order. One of the 2 Supras clattering into the the Porsche from the Ticino team, and unfortunately that eventually retired, and the two Supras getting very, very close indeed, and unfortunately there was a clatter at the back and it spun.
So who was very, very pleased with his progress, and so he should be. And then the story of the second half of the race was this battle between the number one BMW, Max Kobel, being harried here, there, and absolutely everywhere. Up the inside in turn 8, several laps running he went, couldn't make the move stick, but Stuart Middleton was absolutely like a terrier. He kept